Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Ann and I am a functional medicine practitioner. I've been practicing now for 7 years and I've got a couple focuses that I really love to work with. One is hormones, two is thyroid, three is gut health. But out of everything I see, I really wanted to come on here today and start a channel to really help educate people. Because for myself, at least, I'd never heard of the term functional medicine until I was 22. And it single-handedly made the biggest impact in my health, not only my physical health, but my mental health too. And I really just want to get the word out there. And I'd love for there to be more open dialogue on just alternative forms to help people feel their best, move their best, just live optimally. And just letting people know that there's several different options you can take. There's not a right or wrong answer, but there's multiple options. And I really like that. So I thought for today, I would start just by introducing myself as who I am, why I'm here. And then I'd like for this channel to really progress and we could really dive deep into certain symptoms like thyroid, PCOS, SIBO, gut dysfunction. All those things I think would be really beneficial for people. But I thought today I would just kind of share my story, if that's all right. At 15, I was diagnosed with PCOS. Now it's been rebranded to PMOS, which I actually like a lot better. But I was always a very active, fit kid. And when I turned 13 and my hormones started changing, everything went down the drain. I gained 30 pounds, what seemed like overnight. And the weight just kept going up and I felt terrible. I went from being a really active, confident, healthy, happy kid to feeling so self-conscious in my own body, not understanding what was going on. I developed a very unhealthy relationship with food and a fear of food and a very unhealthy obsession with exercise and over-exercising. Because unfortunately, something I notice is kind of the model for today is you just need to eat less and exercise more. And while that may be applicable for some, it's not applicable for many. And for example, for myself, I was exercising 20 hours a week. I was eating maybe 1,000 calories a day and I kept gaining weight. I was gaining inflammation and I felt absolutely terrible. When I was 15, my parents took me to the pediatrician. They ran some tests. They said you need to go see a specialist. So my parents took me to Dornbecker's Children's Hospital, which is in Portland, Oregon, where they diagnosed me with PCOS. And they put me on metformin, 500 milligrams twice a day. And they said, there's nothing else we can do. Take this forever. Good luck. So I did that for 5 years. From ages 15 to 20, I did metformin, 500 milligrams twice a day. And I kept gaining weight. So I went from 30 pounds overweight to 50. And it kept getting worse and worse. And then when I was 20, I decided I went to my new physician and I took myself off metformin because it wasn't working. I was still gaining weight. My blood sugar was still terrible. My testosterone was way too high. Felt like crap. So I took myself off the metformin. And my PCP at the time, she said, well, we can try birth control. So I tried that too. And I did birth control from ages 20 to 22. So 2-3 years, I was also on birth control then. Same problem. Did not help a thing. My periods were still super heavy. I kept gaining weight rapidly. I was getting hair in places I didn't want it. My abdomen was getting puffier and puffier. I felt bloated. My clothes never fit. I was incredibly self-conscious. And I just kept having the mindset of I just need to eat less and exercise more. And that unfortunately is such an unhealthy mindset for a kid, especially when I thought I was doing everything right. I was exercising at least 20 hours a week. I was eating hardly anything. And I kept gaining weight and I just felt terrible. Age 23, I started grad school in the Bay Area and I met my roommate. And I didn't know much about like her health history. It wasn't my business, but all I knew is she was seeing these special doctors. And that's all I knew, and it wasn't my business, so it was fine. And all of a sudden, as she kept going to these special doctors, and I know she was getting a ton of blood work done. And she ended up seeing a new special doctor, and one day I was in my room studying and my door swung open and she said, I have Lyme disease. I'd honestly never heard of Lyme disease in my life. Didn't even know what it was. And so what happened was she came in my room with her laptop and we sat on my bed and we both just researched Lyme disease for 2 hours. I don't even think we said a word. We were just researching Lyme disease. Next thing I know, she meets back with this doctor who actually diagnosed her with Lyme disease. And this was a functional medicine doctor, which is what I kind of found out down the road. A week later, the biggest box of supplements arrived on our doorstep. And, I thought that's cool. I've never seen so many supplements in my life. So I'm helping her unbox all of this. Some stuff's getting refrigerated. There's powders, there's liquids, there's capsules, like you name it, it's a whole box. And she looked at me and she said, I'm going to have to start eating very clean. To me, she already ate the cleanest I'd ever seen, so I didn't even know you could do more than that. But I just kind of looked at her and said, okay, I'll do it with you. And I didn't have another mode. I thought you're my friend. You have to do this. We live together. So we might as well do it together. Because for me, if I had to completely change my style of eating at 23 years old, if everyone else around me was eating what they wanted, that would have been so hard. I don't think I would have been strong enough to do it, personally. So we get started. And she pretty much had a list of the supplements, what she'd taken when. And then we had a list of food, and it was pretty much paleo was what we were eating. So we do organic meats, organic vegetables, healthy fats, fruit. So no grains, no dairy, no sugar, no alcohol were the main ones. I think they prefer if you don't do coffee. I did coffee. I did coffee with coconut milk because I wasn't given that. And we got started. And mind you, at the time, I still weighed 80 pounds more than I wanted to. I was super self-conscious in my body, but I was just trying to help my friend. So we get started, and I couldn't afford everything she was doing, but I could afford from the grocery store. I got a fish oil, I got a probiotic, and I got some magnesium. So I got those 3 supplements, and then we just started eating strictly paleo. And within a month, I lost 15 pounds of inflammation I had never been able to lose in my life. I was shocked. Absolutely shocked. And I was exercising less because I was in grad school. I didn't have time to do 20 hours a week. And then on top of that, I was doing just 3 supplements, and it was just my diet that I changed. Because in the past, I ate the dairy. I ate a lot of processed meats like prosciutto, salami, deli meats, a lot of grains. So I was just eating but I thought it was all healthy. I thought it was fine. Turns out it wasn't, because I just started dropping those excess pounds and I felt so good. And honestly, at the very least, just my confidence increasing was worth it. And that's when I looked at her and I said, what is functional medicine? Because I had never heard of it. A majority of my family members are medical doctors, and I'd never heard of the term functional medicine in my life. And that's when I started researching, because I thought there is something to this. And if it could help me, how many other people could it help? And I just had felt so hopeless for so long. I was just amazed. And so over time, we kept it up. So I kept eating this well. I was taking those supplements. I ended up losing the 80 pounds, never thought I would lose. And I just felt so much better. And that's kind of when I realized I would love to devote my life, my time, my passion towards this and helping others get answers, that they've never had before, when they were always told they're just fine, though they didn't feel fine, getting down inflammation, and just helping people feel their best. I was just thinking there's so much to this. So that's kind of what I've spent my last 7 years doing, is just fine-tuning, honing, perfecting my skills with functional medicine, because there's a lot to it. There's so much to it, and it's awesome. And that's what I love, because you could take 5 people with PCOS, PMOS, they all have different symptoms, and they will all react differently to different things, because every body is different. And that's what I think is so cool. So that's where a lot of testing comes into play. There's just a lot to it, because you have to fine-tune each protocol for each person. And that's what makes it so cool. So thank you for listening to my long rant as to why I decided to become a functional medicine doctor. I'd like to keep this going. So my thoughts are, next round, let's talk more about the PCOS, PMOS. Then we're going to dive hard into thyroid. Let's dive into gut health, autoimmunity. Like, let's uncover all of it. If there's anything in particular you'd like us to uncover during one of these sessions, please comment below, like, subscribe, and if there's anything else I can do, please let me know. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.